Hey, guess what I got? Ba-ba-ba-ba. For my birthday that recently passed, I got a sewing machine from my stepfather. This is deeply, deeply exciting for me because on my quest to become the craftiest lady in all the land, I figured sewing would be a really good hobby for me to take up. On top of that, there's like a lot of environmental things about making your own clothes and the reduction of waste, but also just as a short woman, my entire life clothes have never fit me. So once I figure out how to start making my own stuff, maybe I can actually make clothes that fit me and I don't have to spend money at corporations that don't make clothes for me. The goal of this video is to make a tote bag out of an old duvet. So last night I spent literal hours seam ripping the old stitches out of this duvet, and now I've got this fun mustard yellow fabric to work with and a zipper for future projects, so that's deeply exciting. First things first, I gotta learn how to use this thing. Okay, look at that. It's so cute. I'm so excited. It matches my aesthetic with the yellows and the greens. I'm looking at this and now realizing that they probably assumed most people would be right-handed. I am left-handed and left-footed and left everything. You know what? We're gonna move. We're gonna move closer and knock everything over. Now that we're somewhat set up, the only thing I want to do is hear how this sounds because I feel like I will jump the first time I do this. So little pedal over here, slowly. Okay, we got that. We can figure out how this works, right? We got a master's degree. All right, we got to figure out how to thread this. Okay, so I have this entire box of bobbins that is not the same as this one. Okay, so we're gonna have to thread that. How do you thread it though? I just want to point out that this took an embarrassingly long time for my gelatinous brain to figure out how to do, but we did in fact get it done. I gotta figure out how much pressure to put on this and probably do it with my foot. Okay, that seems full enough. Cool. Yes! All right, now that I've learned how to do that, let's do something else. It's threaded. Now, I just need to cut up some scrap fabric and see if I can actually make this work, and then we'll be in business. And I'm deeply excited, and that gives me some time before my movie today. We're gonna go see the new Superman. So, scissors and fabric. Molly, look out. Okay, 2 random scrap pieces of fabric. And now we follow the instructions on how to do this. Oh, 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 that's awesome. Okay, raise the presser foot lever. Okay, something's not right because that doesn't look right to me. That one was so much better. Okay, I figured out the issue. I had made an oopsie. I want to try a zigzag stitch, see what that does. Cool. Awesome. Figured it out. Now we can work on a pattern, I think. Yay, figured it out. So, I just came back from watching Superman. It's not my favorite superhero movie, but I didn't dislike it. I really like the actors. Full review is on my Letterboxd. Anyway, I purchased a pattern from Etsy that I have to place together, tape, and then cut out the pieces, put that onto my fabric, and then we start piecing everything together. Yes? Can we do that? Okay. First things first, charge the camera. I have to cut the ruffle piece myself. What is the point of the pattern then? I've run into a conundrum on here. First and foremost, the fact that the ruffle isn't there really pissing me off. And then what the hell's the grain line? What does that mean? What does that mean? The direction of the threads in woven fabric. It is a critical concept because it affects how a garment will drape, fit, and hold its shape. Okay, how do you identify it? This video looks like it's from the 50s.
So you always want to measure this line here should run parallel to the selvage edge. So it should be the same measurement here and the same measurement here. If it is off center like this, off skew, That is not correct. That is not running along the straight grain of the fabric.
Okay, now that I've fought with this fabric, let's cut out some pattern pieces and measure the ruffle. This is where I truly began to lose my mind because everything went wrong. First and foremost, don't recommend cutting out fabric pieces on a carpet because when you're trying to pin your pattern pieces to the fabric, it gets stuck within the carpet. Not fun. And I mentioned this later, I desperately need lefty fabric scissors because the fabric was fraying, it wouldn't cut properly, they weren't sharp enough to cut through the fabric. Everything went wrong. Started to lose my mind. Unfortunately, poor Molly got the brunt of it a little bit. Molly, I swear to God. All right, one piece, so frustrating, especially when you're left-handed and can't get as close as you need to. Eventually, I got this done. I even resorted to laying on my stomach because it just eased all the frustration, just a touch. That was so frustrating. 2 straps. Might be better. It's also probably the fact that I'm working on carpet and not a hard surface. I need to move and get a fucking tool, but that's not happening anytime soon, that's for sure. I'm on the verge of a crash out. I need to do this one more time as well. Move! I'm having a thought, Barbosa. Okay, so because I don't have a measuring tape that goes out long enough to 220 centimeters, what if I did that in half? What is half of 110? I was like, what's half of 220? It's 110. Okay, so that puts me at there. Molly, get off. I'm gonna kill this cat. So that would be, I'm just gonna use this edge, right? No, I would need to put it on the fold, so it would be down here. I want it known I have an art degree. I do not have a math degree. I didn't expect to do math past high school, and this was so frustrating. I then moved on to sewing the straps or attempting to them. Are they even? No. Does it matter? No. I was just trying to learn the process. As you can see, I managed to jam my machine before even starting. So right out the gate, we tripped, but we persevere. Okay, after a minor jam, we have one strap. I just need a safety pin so I can do that trick where you turn it inside out. Where are you? I need a better organization system, but whatever. We're working with what we got for right now. And didn't work. Pulled it right off the end. Now a smart person would press this or redo this, make it better. This is a first project. This is actually something where I'm really just trying to learn how to do everything. And so if it's not perfect, far be it from me to make it that way. This is the wrong one. Just from one strap to the other looks so much better, which means I'm improving immediately. So good news. Now we can just do this thing again, and then I will do the ruffle, and then I will call it quits for the day. So I pinned the ruffle in half the long way so that it was skinnier. And then I attempted to sew it. I did the wrong stitch. I thought you were supposed to do a zigzag stitch. Actually supposed to do a loose straight stitch to create a ruffle. And so you'll see this does not work out the way I wanted it to at all. I also somehow ripped the thread while it was in the machine. Don't ask. We're just, like I said, figuring it out. Okay, so the way the instructions said to do it was that you could pull a seam and it'll just ruffle, but I am struggling to do that. So what I think, was like, it's like that right here, but I don't understand what seam I'm supposed to pull, because then it just unravels the whole thing. So what I may end up doing is, well, hang on. Oh, no, we're getting somewhere, I think. No, because now there's a hole right here. Okay, so, I'm gonna hand sew that. But like this is ruffled. So I don't understand. Alright, you know what? I'm frustrated, I'm tired. I'm going to seam rip this tomorrow, redo it. Especially because I just pulled a seam and watched it all come apart like that. And that's really frustrating. Okay, love that for me. Love wasting thread. Yeah, that's it for today. I'm very, very tired and annoyed. So, whatever. This is a learning process. It's gonna take a while. There's gonna be mistakes. There's gonna be redos. It's fine. I just like to be good at things right out the gate. So, all right. Everything needs to get cleaned up. I need to go to bed. See you in the morning.
3 days later.
Okay, so here's the deal. It took me 3 days to get back to this because I was so incredibly frustrated. I had no desire to go back. But like I keep reiterating, we persevere. And so I sat, turned on Teen Titans, and seam ripped and tried to save as much thread as I possibly could. I also repinned the ruffle, taking extra care and time to make sure it was as even as humanly possible with the shoddy cut job that I did. I then rewatched the video tutorial that came with the pattern and properly set the stitch to that loose straight stitch, and it worked. It freaking worked. I'd also like to draw your attention to my pin cushion that is a pumpkin. That's really cute. It was the best idea I had during this entire process. After struggling for forever, it was finally time to move on to the body of the bag, and I had to pin the ruffle around the perimeter, and I guess my ruffle still wasn't tight enough because I had extra ruffle at the top, but better to have too much than too little. I also pinned the straps to the bag as well. This is how it turned out. Is it even? No, but it got done, and you will see that ruffle gives me hell later on. So then I continued on sewing the other side with the other strap, and that came together good. Then it was time to attach the lining. And this is where things got a little difficult because you had to sew the lining and leave like a little space so you could flip everything inside out. But because my ruffle, one, I had weird fabric. I think it was too thin and wasn't reinforced enough to like really hold its shape. It also was in the way constantly. So some of the one corner I had to hand stitch and make sure everything was just together, and it took literally everything in me to get this done. But I did in fact get it done, and now it's time for the reveal. All right, guys, it has been about 2 weeks since I finished this project, but let's see her. Let's bring her out. Ba-ba-ba-ba! Here she is. Here's my little tote bag. She's cute and she's functional, and that was the whole point of this. So, I mean, is it perfect? No, not at all. In fact, I can show you how imperfect it is. The straps are uneven completely. There is wonky stitching right here. In fact, I even managed to sew part of the ruffle into the opening. Don't know how I did that. One of these bottom corners, this one, is so thick because of how like in the way and poorly measured the fabric is for the corner. That was the one that I had to hand sew because it just wouldn't go through the machine. And so there are a lot of things that I could fix, but I also learned a lot. I learned that I need to do things on a hard surface, or if I can't, at least have something to reinforce that. I learned that I needed new scissors, which I did get. Hold on. We have pretty pink iridescent lefty fabric scissors. These will only be used for fabric, and if I find them anywhere else in the house, I'm gonna lose it. But other than that, like I said, it was to learn the process, and for that, to have a functioning bag that isn't falling apart at the seams despite them being wonky, I'd say job well done. So I am going to continue sewing. I have a couple of ideas for projects that I will get to eventually. But yeah, I think that more than anything, past a certain age, you stop learning new hobbies and picking up new hobbies. And so I would encourage anyone to try and sew. And so if someone like me who, does everything wrong the first time can figure it out and have a functioning bag, I'm sure that you can figure it out and have an even better functioning item that has cleaner seams because I'm an imperfectionist and I will probably never have perfectly clean seams. And with that, guys, thank you so much for watching and watching me crash out while I learned a new skill. Hopefully there will be plenty of new sewing videos along the way, and you could subscribe if you would like that. And yeah, all of those fun things like comment, subscribe. Tell me a hobby that you have picked up in recent years. All right, see you guys later. Bye.